We're going to do a little reading, all right, about the class notes. Then we have a class reading we'll do together. We'll take some notes on there, and then you will work on the ed puzzle. The ed puzzle will be due tonight. We're going to start that around, hopefully, 12:35. Give you a couple of minutes to do it in class, and then you'll go home tonight and finish it for homework. And the other item tonight, just to keep a reminder, prepare for your quiz tomorrow. Right, your quiz is going to be on Google Forms. It's going to be on your iPad. There's going to be multiple choice questions, and there's also going to be questions where you have to write a response, where you have to write the sentence, right, or maybe two sentences. For example, describe the location of Jamestown. Describe the location of Jamestown. Jamestown is located, fill in the blank, right? You have to write a sentence, right? You're not going to be able to say Jamestown in the woods. Right, that'll get you like half credit because it technically is in the woods, right? But you have to write a sentence. You have to be able to, at 7th grade, write in grammatically correct sentences. Okay? So with that being said, our aim for today is how can we describe some of the key features of the Southern colonies? Right? How can we describe key elements that made up the Southern colonies? And by the end of the day, you'll know what those Southern colonies were. But we're going to talk about some of those different features today because each establishment, each region was different from the next, right? What's going on in Virginia is kind of similar to what's going on in North Carolina. And as we take a larger picture at this and a larger glance, we'll realize that what's going on in the Southern colonies is much different than what's going on in the New England colonies and the Middle colonies. Because of geography, because of weather, each group turns into something spectacular, right, from the next, right? So that's New England. We're not on New England right now. All right, we're on Southern colonies. All right? All right, so we talked about the aim, talked about the homework. Let's think about this. Let's talk about this together here. I'm going to write some of these answers up on the board. Describe some words that come to mind when you think of a civilization. We're going to begin today talking about
Mr.
different types of civilizations. Joseph, you all right?
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know, be careful with that wire.
Thank you so much. Let's think about some words. Can you take your AirPod out, please? Yeah, can you take it out, please? Let's think about this together. Civilization. What are some words that come to mind? We talked about several civilizations so far this year. What words come to mind when you think of a civilization? You live in a civilization. What are some things that come to mind? What do you need for a civilization to occur? What do you need for a civilization to happen? Yes, Jacob.
You're gonna need a food source, shelter, a government, and
Let's go slow because these are all good ideas. You're gonna need food. Absolutely. So if you can't physically go out and get that food, you better learn how to farm. You better learn how to farm. Because if you can't go out and get the food from a grocery store and you don't want to hunt and you don't like hunting, which is fine, you better learn how to plant stuff. Because if you don't learn how to plant crops, you're not going to be able to eat. Alright? You're not going to be able to take whatever you have left over and sell it to people for other goods and services. So food, what's another one? Jacob? You had a couple, but you were going fast.
yeah, basically religion, shelter, and government.
Religion, right? Put here shelter, right? The big one I'll put up here is government. What happens if you don't have a government? Somebody besides Jacob. Jacob's had a 10 out of 10 already. Let's try and get some other people up to 10. Yes. What? Describe why you need a government.
The reason why you need a government if you don't have it is going to be complete chaos. People are going to steal crops from other people or worse.
Good. I'm going to put I'm going to put here government. I'm going to draw an arrow. Organization. Governments allow you to be organized. They allow you to be organized in the way in which you do things, in the way you communicate. You gotta keep your head up. Gotta keep your head up. Right? You gotta take your hood off too. The hood's in here. Hood off. If you're tired, go for a walk. Alright, go get some water. Go to the bathroom, splash some water on your face. Alright? If you have a government, right, you can also have something called rules. So if someone breaks the law, there's a punishment that they face. Alright? If you don't, what's that?
I said I was just about to say the
Laws, very good. Government have laws. Right? When the southern colonies begin to establish themselves, places like Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, one of the first things that they do before they do anything else is they establish some type of government. They establish some type of government because the people that are coming there need rules to follow and obey. What else? What else does a civilization need? Yes, Sebastian?
It needs a water source.
Water source, okay. Very good.
Because they need to drink water.
Yeah, they need access to water. Access to fresh water for drinking, alright, water to harvest your crops.
Yeah,
and to-
to boil, and maybe sometimes to boil.
Yeah, 'cause you can't take water from the soil, water from the ocean, and then feed it to your plants.
No, you
That's
have
not
to
good.
like, boil it.
Yeah, they'll boil it or they'll use other freshwater sources, so access to water is certainly it. Alright, again, ladies and gentlemen, important to keep all these things in mind here, key features of a civilization, because when these civilizations like Virginia are beginning to get set up, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, so on and so on, these are things that they have to consider. These are things that they have to consider, and guess what? Civilizations that want to start today, they have to check all these boxes, right? If you're a civilization, you have a lot of different features that make up that civilization, all right? So again, it brings us to a couple of key terms and key people. I like to give you guys exposure to this before we start new topics, just because you'll be seeing these names as we go along here. We already know about Nathaniel Bacon, right? He's a very important part of Southern civilization. He was the leader, right, of Bacon's Rebellion, and that was an attack against Native Americans who were trying to defend themselves from the colonists, right? Lord Baltimore is a Catholic proprietor, all right? He's a member of the church, the Catholic Church, and he's gonna be responsible for developing Maryland, right? The state of Maryland, which we know all about today. Has anybody ever been to Maryland in here?
Of course,
You've been to Maryland. Nicholas has been to Maryland. Okay. Maryland was founded by a man by the name of Lord Baltimore. All right. And the reason why he founded the area of Maryland is because it was a place where people were going to and living to escape religious persecution. All right. They were not allowed to practice their religion, which was Catholicism. All right, a form of Catholicism. They weren't allowed to practice it, and he brings people over from his country to Maryland and starts a colony there. James Oglethorpe, all right, James Oglethorpe is an Englishman, all right, meaning he came from England, all right, and he founded the colony of Georgia, all right, and this is a place where English debtors would be protected. And what does a debtor mean? This means if you weren't paying your taxes in England, James Oglethorpe invited you to come to Georgia where you didn't have to pay those taxes. You could escape jail time. You could escape paying a serious fine. Andrew. Okay? James Oglethorpe, all right, from England, invites people over to Georgia, the state of Georgia. Has anybody ever been to Georgia? It's okay if you haven't been to Georgia. Georgia was founded by James Oglethorpe, who was from England. The reason why it was founded is because people weren't paying their taxes in England, and they were being kicked out. They needed to go somewhere. So James Oglethorpe said, everyone come over to Georgia in the 13 colonies, and we'll live our life there. And a lot of people do that because they don't want to go to jail, all right? Or they don't want to pay the fine because they don't have the money. So they have to go start life somewhere else, right? We talked about the word debtor, it's someone who owes money. Georgia, the state of Georgia, was originally founded by people who owed money, right? People who owed money went to Georgia and lived their life there and kind of, erased those debts, right? And probably the most important word in this unit that you'll see, a plantation, right? A plantation is a large type of farm. And I'm not talking about large like 100 yards large, like the size of the field outside. I'm talking about acres upon acres, 60 acres, 100 acres of land. That's a lot of land. Alright? It's really, really big. That's like the size of almost Floral Park. Imagine Floral Park was just flat. No schools, no buildings, no restaurants, no stores, and it was just farmland. The South, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, it's all made up of plantations. What do you think they're harvesting on those plantations? What do you think they're growing? We talked about it with Jamestown. What's the big cash crop? It's making a lot of people money. Yeah. Tobacco. Tobacco all over the South. You gonna say that, Andrew? Tobacco. Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia. Everybody's growing tobacco because it's making everybody rich. Alright? Those people who came over from England that were poor in Georgia, well, guess what now? They came to Georgia. What do they have a lot of now? They have a lot of money now because they're growing tobacco and they're investing in this plantation idea.
Now they pay the debt.
Take the pass.
I'm gonna take a lap also.
Okay? You take the pass.
Oh, excuse me,
Yes.
when they get back to England, they can pay their debt.
When they get back to England, they can pay their debt, but guess what?
What?
After they're doing so good in the colonies, they ain't gonna want to go back to England. They don't want to go back to England. They want to stay in the 13 colonies because they like it so much. Right? It's going really good. It's going really good until some things change, and we'll talk about those changes very, very soon. Right? Here are the 13 colonies. Maryland, right? This is New York, this is Long Island, this is where we live. The southern colonies, all right, are made up of the states of Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia, right? Each one of these areas